Star Wars 7x7, episode 1873. Today, the publisher's summary for Resistance Reborn is out, and oh my goodness, does it have some very, very interesting stuff about what the novel is about and who could become involved in the fight to save the galaxy from the First Order. Let's go. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. Here is the background information for you before we get into the meat of the matter. So, as with previous movies being released, there is a Journey to publishing initiative, in this case Journey to the Rise of Skywalker, where a number of novels and comics and other media are being released that tie directly into what's coming in December with The Rise of Skywalker. The primary novel being released in the Journey to the Rise of Skywalker is the novel Resistance Reborn by Rebecca Roanhorse. And the publisher's summary has been released for this novel, which, well, let me just read you the publisher's summary, and then we'll talk about it from there. It starts off with this. In this pivotal prequel to Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, the heroes of the Resistance, Poe Dameron, General Leia Organa, Rey, and Finn, must fight back from the edge of oblivion. The Resistance is in ruins. In the wake of their harrowing escape from Crate, what was once an army has been reduced to a handful of wounded heroes. Finn, Poe, Rey, Rose, Chewbacca, Leia Organa. Their names are famous among the oppressed worlds they fight to liberate. But names can only get you so far, and Leia's last desperate call for aid has gone unanswered. Now, here's the really exciting part. From the jungles of Ryloth to the shipyards of Corellia, the shadow of the First Order looms large, and those with the bravery to face the darkness are scattered and isolated. If hope is to survive, the Resistance must journey throughout the galaxy, seeking out more leaders, including those who, in days gone by, helped a nascent rebellion topple an empire. Battles will be fought, alliances will be forged, and the Resistance will be reborn. So, oh my goodness, this is a big deal. In fact, it's such a big deal that we're going to split our look at this up across 2 episodes. Today, we're going to focus on the people that are sort of overtly implied by this publisher's summary, and tomorrow we'll look at additional possibilities that are not directly implied by this. Well, I mean, I guess they're less directly implied, if you will. So, for the directly implied, the planets Ryloth and Corellia are mentioned in that description, and if you're thinking about leaders who helped a nascent rebellion topple an empire, well, there are a few people who meet that description. As far as Corellia goes, the one that would jump to the top of your mind potentially is Wedge Antilles. He, of course, was last involved in anything, as far as we know, in the Battle of Jakku, which was described in the Aftermath novels by Chuck Wendig. Beyond that, we don't know anything about his history within the New Republic or after it or anything like that. As far as we know in canon literature, he is still alive. So yeah, that's one possibility. One that wouldn't necessarily jump to mind so quickly, but thanks to Wikipedia, it got pointed out for me, which is awesome, is General Crix Madine, who is also Corellian. And if you need the refresher for Madine, he's the general who appeared in Return of the Jedi, who described the plan to go down to the forest moon of Endor and use a strike team to destroy the shield generator bunker and ultimately enable the attack on the second Death Star. As for Ryloth, there is one crucial family involved in this particular situation, and I was surprised because for some reason, I'd been carrying around the idea that the patriarch of this family had already died or been killed in action, and it turns out that's not the case, at least not according to Wikipedia, that he is still alive and kicking. So I'm talking about the Syndulla family. Cham Syndulla as the patriarch of the family, who is, of course, one of the progenitors of the Free Ryloth movement that goes all the way back into the Clone Wars, and he was still very active in fighting against all sorts of tyranny. His daughter, of course, is Hera Syndulla, who you probably best know from the Star Wars Rebels TV series, and we also know she was a participant in the Battle of Scarif in Rogue One. We also know that she survived the events of the original trilogy and was seen at on the forest moon of Endor after the Battle of Endor, so we know that she survived that long as well. She also, in fact, is commanding a battle group, the Barma Battle Group, and part of that is described in the first novel in the Alphabet Squadron trilogy that came out earlier this year. And of course, there's one other Syndulla kicking around that could be a participant in all of this too, assuming that he is still around, and that is Jason Syndulla. He, of course, is the son of Hera Syndulla and the now deceased Jedi Kanan Jarrus. Of course, it's a big question as to whether he has Force abilities and whether he's going to continue in the Syndulla family tradition of fighting against big, monolithic, horrible organizations like the First Order. One thing's for sure, though, he should be in about his mid-30s, mid to late 30s by the time of Resistance Reborn, as far as where it takes place in the canon timeline. So you would imagine that he would definitely be a very able-bodied fighter, and if he has any Force abilities whatsoever and has nurtured them to some degree or found a way to nurture them, well, oh my goodness, that would be something else. Now, I know I said I would stay away from the less direct implications until tomorrow's episode, but there is one group of folks that I'm going to flag as probably not having anything to do with this book, or at least, only tangentially so, and I'll explain why after the break. Stay tuned. This episode is brought to you by Constant Contact, the premier email marketing solution for small businesses and organizations. I've used their service since 2003, and over the past decade and a half, I've watched them evolve, make the product simpler, more powerful, easy to use, and do everything that they can to help train people to use the product more effectively and for it to work with other forms of marketing like social media, for example. So check out sw7x7.com/email to learn more about Constant Contact and start a free trial. Once again, that is sw7x7.com/email for a free trial. Welcome back. So my guess is that the Mon Calamari are not going to be prominently featured in Resistance Reborn, and the reason why I say that is because the Resistance's attempts to recruit them into the battle are going to be detailed in another forum. In fact, it's a 4-issue limited comic series called Allegiance from Marvel, and that's going to be coming out in October. At least the first issue of it is going to come out in October, about a month before the release of the Resistance Reborn novel. But in that 4-issue comic series, General Leia Organa and Rey are going to make a personal journey to Mon Cala to try to get the leaders of the Mon Calamari people to contribute ships and material and recruits to the war effort and make a final stand against Kylo Ren and the First Order. So I have a feeling that anything related to Mon Cala will be handled in Allegiance, and if they appear in Resistance Reborn, it will be comparatively minor next to the efforts of, say, recruiting people from Ryloth or Corellia or other places that we're going to talk about tomorrow. But for now, that is going to do it for today's episode of the show. Thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox. It is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other related Star Wars items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2019 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.